I have chosen to give my speech about organ donations. To begin, I will give some history about organ donations in the United States and how the process developed from being only able to transport organs in the same hospital to finding matches nationwide, and I will also describe how a match is found and how the waiting list is created. I will conclude by stating the benefits of being an organ donor and why you should join the list. According to researchers at Stresemann Biosciences, one of the first successful human organ transplants took place in 1950 in the suburbs of Chicago. Ruth Tucker, a 44-year-old woman with kidney disease, received a kidney which was eventually rejected, but for 10 months it enabled her to resume normal way of life. The kidney became from a person who died of cirrhosis. By 1954, medical advances enabled the first kidney transplant from a living donor. The United Network of Organ Sharing reported that Ronald Herrick donated one of his kidneys to his twin brother Richard Herrick in 1954 in Boston, which enabled Richard to go on and live a normal life. By the late 60s, liver, heart, and pancreas transplants were being completed successfully throughout the United States. With lung and intestinal transplants following in the 80s, one of the barriers to organ transplantation was the rejection of the organ by the body, which limited the number of transplants performed. In the early 80s, doctors introduced cryophosphin and steroids in the organ transplant procedure. This was a major breakthrough that prevented from the body rejecting the organs. This development made organ transplants much more realistic prospect for many people throughout the world. People in need of organs. The following information is from organdonor.gov. Over 100,000 men, women, and children are awaiting an organ transplant on the National Organ Transplant List. Approximately 7 people die each day waiting for a transplant. Each donor can save up to 8 lives and assist 75 more lives. Every 9 minutes, another person is added to the list. 85% of people are waiting for a kidney on this list. In 2020, 6,000 people died waiting for a kidney. 1 out of 3 deceased donors is over the age of 50. Some more statistics from 2021. Over 90,000 kidney transplants performed and over 24,000 added to the waiting list. Over 11,000 liver transplants were performed and 9,000 were added to the list. Over 3,000 heart transplants were performed and over 3,000 were added to the waiting list as well. And over 1,000 lung transplants were performed and over 2,000 people were added to the waiting list. Finding a match. In 1970s, several hospitals started forming networks to match people with organs. In 1977, Southeast Oregon Procurement Foundation started a computer-based organ matching system, which they became known as the United States Network for Organ Sharing. A transplant candidate is typically seen by his primary care doctor, then referred to a transplant center for evaluation, which usually includes a bunch of tests including blood typing, tissue typing, dental tests, x-rays, and heart exams as well. Some other tests that are taken are psychological tests, emotional tests, and then background checks to see that you will be able to financially maintain your life after receiving a new organ. When the transcript evaluation is complete, the transcript team will decide if a patient is suitable transplant candidate. If the patient is a viable candidate, the transplant center will add him to the national waiting list. Before an organ is assigned, all candidates on the transplant list that are incompatible with the blood type, height, weight are automatically screened out. Geographic location is always taken into consideration as heart and lungs have less time to be transplanted, so the radius is much smaller. After considering these factors, The medical facility generates a rank order system for each candidate, so the list is more like a pool as it changes based on what organs become available and the organ is offered to the person with the best match. Donors. Most organ donations come from dead people. The Organ Donation Alliance. The Organ Donation Alliance reports that there were approximately 43,000 organ transplants in 2021, with a little over 6,000 coming from living donors. While most living donations take place between family or close friends, strangers do also donate organs on the occasion. Prior to being allowed to donate, a physician will examine you to ensure your body is in good health, screening for diabetes, cancer, high blood pressure, or anything else that may affect the organs down the line. The conclusion. While there are some small risks associated with being a liver donor, there is no downside to signing up for a donor once you're deceased. You could save a life or many lives for free. Every state in the U.S., except a few, like Arizona, Texas, and Vermont, has an option to add yourself to the organ donor list via the icon on your license. In becoming an organ donor, you can help your family through the grieving process once you're deceased, and your family will also be able to take comfort knowing that you were able to help someone else's life while you passed on. You will also be able to help someone who has a much better quality of life by being a donor. This could include giving someone vision, saving their life, or enabling someone to live their life pain-free if they have been struggling. 53% of people are waiting on a transplant are 50 to 64 years of old. 31% are over 65, and 27% are 35 to 49 years old. Those numbers clearly say that there are a lot of people in need of organ transplants. By signing up to be an organ donor, you can create a huge legacy long after you are gone.